of what our expenditures are.
Sure.
It's really that revenue side. You know, that's we're always looking for ways like how do we increase revenues. Grants is one I know that Dr. Rowing is working on, and that we're really focused on how do we bring new dollars. But that's an area when I look at, okay, being conservative, I think on the revenue side, I think we'll do a little bit better.
Okay.
To put it in perspective, say if we're off CPI by 1%, that would be huge. Say if,
Yeah.
you know, it's not 2.5, it's 3.5, that swing, we're looking at about $600,000 difference, right? To our local tax levy. So that's where sort of the big adjustment is. I think using 3, you know, it's probably going to be a little bit lower than that next year. But if we look at trends over time, it balances out.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of like the safe route to go.
And you're static in terms of the growth in EAV, not necessarily taking into account.
Correct.
I'm seeing all sorts of tracks
So-
going on the market.
Yeah, so what's interesting about when we talk about EAV, so for every $1 million that like I'm wrong, right, that we don't capture in this, it only equates to about $42,000 difference that we get. So it's more important to me to be like close as possible to what we think CPI is going to be than the new growth, the
It's
new
more
EAV.
significant.
Yes.
Yep. So.
For the curriculum money going forward to be $1 million, it says the financial model assumes the ongoing investment. Is that actually the investment that the district will be making in the next 5 years?
Well, that would be determined working with teaching and learning and what their specific needs are. But the look that we did this past year to develop what was needed for this year, I would anticipate that we would actually be spending close to $1 million, maybe a little bit less or a little bit more
Yeah.
for the next 5 years. I think that's a safe assumption that we will actually spend that money.
Yeah, I think that's realistic, right? I think the problem is when we would throw $200,000 in that budget line, we would just spend that money. It wasn't like an actual curriculum that we were buying, right? Whereas if you want to buy a full package functional curriculum, we're talking this is the kind of dollars you have to put into that pot.
And that would depend on what content and what level is
Sure.
up for a review in any particular year.
Yeah, sure.
Is that just the going rate now? Did the
A new
prices
curriculum
jump?
package is,
Expensive.
for IM math, I'm gonna say it was
Like $800,000. Yeah,
$800,000.
$874,000.
several $100,000
Yeah.
to do something, but that's, that's a 5-year purchase,
Mhm.
right?
No,
So
yeah.
some of the things, and sometimes you can stretch that out, right? You pay $120,000 a year. If we can take the big swing, that often saves us money
Yes,
in
sure.
the end. So we, Dr. Bogan and the teaching and learning team are having constant conversations about where are we, what are we still paying for, what's coming up. So but that million it should be in that range.
For some of these larger programs, they're like 5-6 year programs or something. Do we do amortization on that stuff or no?
Like to depreciate it?
Yeah.
So we do not, because it's like essentially a finite resource. Like it's the same value today as it is in
Okay.
5 years. But we do that with our buses.
Got
so.
it. Okay. My question on the technology portion. So the $800,000 is, like you said, up, I think, from previous year. More to do with Chromebooks, but now we're going to be rolling in new Chromebooks over time. It's not going to be one large replacement, correct?
Correct. And we're also looking between what it would look like and what the cost difference, or if there's a possibility of savings to purchase outright versus leasing the devices.
Yep.
So our goal essentially is that every 4 years, a student gets a new device.
Got it. Okay.
That's the plan right now.
So would it take about 4 years for somebody who's got an older device to get into a new device now?
So we are working on that. So we
Okay.
have to phase in the replacement.
Yeah.
So we do have I think 3 classes that they're going to get pushed to a 5-year replacement.
Yeah.
So that we can get back on track. Because if we purchased it all at once, I mean, we're talking, you know, $3.5–4 million
Yeah, I
in
mean, you
one
have to
year,
do that
and then
every, what, 5 years?
and then you
3
have to
years?
do that
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
4 years. So it will take till 2030 to get us back on the replacement schedule.
I
And then
think-
we are not deviating from that schedule.
Unless another grant comes up.
If another grant comes, we're gonna have to find out other ways to use it. Replace a portion of those and something else. So the
And-
schedule is really important for consistency.
Oh, yeah, that, 100%. And then, quick question on the capital,
Mhm.
expected or recommended to use 1.2 million and $2 million for subsequent years. We budgeted $537,000 for this current year.
Correct.
Based on the referendum and the $141 million and a lot of work that's going into the high school specifically. For the, I mean, this 1.2 and this 2 million, is that for, I mean, additional larger projects that need to be done for other schools within the district?
It is. So even with the referendum, we
Yeah.
still have just over $9 million in ongoing capital needs that still
Okay.
need to be addressed that aren't being addressed through that.
Yep.
And then one of the things, working very closely with our Director of Buildings and Grounds to figure out what does the ongoing preventative maintenance and upkeep of all these things look like. We know that historically we've underspent in capital
I was
projects.
gonna ask this.
And so how do we get us up to, you know, I think 2 million is probably too short. In a couple of years, I may be coming back and saying, you know, for assumptions, I'd like to use $3 million because here's what that looks like over the course of the next, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And what
No,
that,
and that's exactly why I wanted to kind of break that down a little bit more,
Okay.
because I know in public, we talk about referendum and $141 million, and that's a ton of money, right? And then to come back and say, oh, well, now we're gonna, you know, do 1.2 million and just our own capital projects out of just our revenue, and then 2 million and plus after that. But why do we have to do that? So I just wanted that kind of put out there. Especially the preventative maintenance is for anything that's new that's coming in from the referendum. I think that's a big part of why we're in a position we're in, is because we push things to the side and spend money over here instead of fixing things or staying on top of fixing things that may have prolonged the useful life of some of these, you know, if it's, well, the boilers are as old as the school, so I don't think that would have mattered much. But I know there's some things that kind of got neglected, and we're having to deal with that now in a more of an emergency situation, which is always gonna be more expensive than planning, so, perfect, okay.
Yeah, I was piggybacking on what Ryan was saying. I was going to ask a similar question. This idea that we historically had spent somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million as allocated for this budget line, right? So
Yeah, about $1
we're
million.
significantly increasing this as well. And then you made the comment, I was going to ask this, like, we're going to maybe have to increase it even more, right, in the future.
in the future.
I guess the question is, like, so, okay, so we do that, right? I guess the question is, okay, so if we're gonna invest in that piece, right? Where are we gonna be kind of massaging from to cover this, right? And we hadn't done it in the past for a lot of reasons. How well is this gonna protect us for future so we don't have to go to referendum again, right? Does that question make sense? It makes sense
Sure.
in my head.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of parts to that. So I think
Yeah.
really the idea is, first and foremost, like, it's not something we can change overnight, right?
Right.
Like, it's not something that we can just make the shift, because there are real dollars and we have finite dollars
Right.
to spend. And so what we need to do is, over time, is we need to make smaller shifts, right?
Good.
In terms of where exactly that comes, that is gonna be an ongoing conversation that we're gonna have to have here, because
Yeah.
it's about choices. You spend money on A, or you spend it on B, or you spend
Sure.
a little bit here and a little bit here. And so those will, will be choices that the board will need to make, and that will come, with all the information so that you can make those informed decisions.
Yeah, I think historically, we looked at the two I've talked about, the curriculum and capital projects, as where when we would find budget shortfalls, those were the two places we would often go, right? And I'm speaking now for being 10 years on the board, right? Like, we would have this conversation, like, we gotta cut somewhere, guys, and we'd be like, let's cut capital projects, let's cut curriculum. Right, and the thinking was like, well, we have to cut somewhere, and
Right.
that's the decisions we had to make, right? I'm not saying that those were good decisions, by the way, because I do think we underfunded these areas for a long, long time. But the reality of it is, if you rob Peter to pay Paul, we are robbing Peter, right? And so,
And that's, I think that'll just be about finding that balance, right? Like,
Yeah.
we can't swing the other way either. I would
Right.
never propose that and be like, oh, we're putting everything to capital projects,
Right.
it's gonna be a gradual,
Yeah.
alignment.
Well,
I
a lot
wouldn't
of
even
this
say shift.
is having a long-term plan that we stick to.
that's good too.
We know that roofs have a life. We know that,
Right.
boilers have a life, although we really extended the one. We know that the track has a life.
Yeah,
And so we need to plan. There's some play in there,
yeah,
but we can't plan for a new track in 15 years because that's not realistic,
right.
right? Maybe we get to it and it's like, oh, we had a few nice, the winters weren't that tough, and so we can push another year.
Yeah.
But we need to be in that range and stick with that,
Yeah.
or we end up in a position where then you have to
Crisis.
rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a
Everything,
crisis,
right?
in a crisis.
So
That's, my old man used to always say, hope's not a strategy. But I do believe we used that on this board for a long, long time. Not this current board, like old boards. It was like, well, hopefully it works and we'll get through another year, right? And yeah, so I'm glad we're not doing that, but I do also recognize that we're gonna have to probably make some other tough decisions then, right, coming down the pike. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education directs administration to use the above recommendations as assumptions when planning the 2026 to 2030 5-year financial projections.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. Mankowski,
Aye.
Dr. Lawler,
Aye.
Mr. Cook,
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. The second item of new business is the approval of donations from the Piemonte family. Dr. Bogan, if you'd please provide more information.
Yeah, so the Piemonte family has generously contributed $500 to the Kaneland High School Theater Department. Their support is going to be used for general program needs, so materials, equipment, resources that help enhance the overall student experience in theater. The theater program provides students with valuable opportunities to develop creativity, collaborate, work on their communication skills. And donations like this do play an essential role in sustaining the high-quality fine arts experiences for our students. So really, I just want to say thank you to the Piemonte family for their generosity and their ongoing support of the program, and recommend that the board formally accept this.
Yes.
All right, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education approve and formally accept the $500 donation from the Piemonte family to the Kaneland High School Theater Department.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Dr. Lawler,
Aye.
Mr. Cook,
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. The donation from the Piemonte family is approved, and we thank you greatly, Piemonte family. Third item of new business is the approval of donations from the Lemke family. Dr. Bogan, if you'd please provide more information.
Yeah, so the Lemke family, they have a Kaneland graduate who participated in the Kaneland music program, and they have very generously donated a trumpet that's valued at $500 to the Harder Middle School Band program. And this donation is directly supporting student participation, and it really just increases the access that our students have to high-quality instruments that really help enrich their musical experience for all of our middle school students. So we really extend our sincerest thank yous to the Lemke family. I did, for both of these families, I do send a letter. In this situation, I didn't have a mailing address, but I had an old email, so I reached out and they responded right away, and they were just so thankful that another student was going to be able to use that, which is just wonderful to hear. So we are recommending that the board formally accept this donation.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept
So moved.
the donation.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. The donation from the Lemke family is approved, and we greatly appreciate it. The fourth item of new business is the math curriculum K-5 update. Dr. Rowling, if you'd please provide more information.
I'm gonna pass this off to Ms. Vaklovic, who will give us all the information we need.
This is my first time, so I don't know how to actually get this. All right, is someone gonna flip it over for me? Or do I have to flip this over?
They'll
Usually our tech
get
guys.
you.
Our tech guy thing.
Or 3 minutes?
But to make you feel better, my first one wasn't even loaded, so I just had to do it on the
This is
fly.
not it though either. I mean, I could talk Dr. Rowling's spot here too, but
Did you send the presentation?
I did. I sent it to Julie.
That would explain why we don't have it. You could just send it to IT support.
Right back.
1 minute, it's going.
Where are you going?
Sorry, I told you I'm new to this, so.
But that's their background.
In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you for letting me talk about the math implementation. Obviously this was a decision that was made at the end of the school year last year, and we started rolling with it right this year. And so it has meant a lot of changes and adjustments as we've sort of rolled along, but I think that we are sort of moving along with it. And so the first thing that I wanted to do is, I know that the curriculum was brought to you last year and you had the opportunity to sort of look at it, but really give you sort of that big picture again of sort of the main ideas and the core principle design of this curriculum. It really is taking that problem-based approach to math and asking our students to engage in a lot of discourse and collaboration around math and the language of mathematics. And so it is very different from some of the structures that both the students and the teachers have been used to historically, which means that there's some learning curves and some growing along the way, right? The idea here is that students are going to learn math by doing math, by talking about math, by making those connections to the real world, and starting to see how this all sort of integrates together. There is some going slow to go fast, right? And the way that the curriculum spirals is no longer in sets of mastery, but instead we sort of work with something for a little bit and then we get to more levels of depth as they go along to increase the depth of knowledge within those mathematical concepts instead of necessarily just going straight through one domain at a time where we may have done historically within our curriculum. So I wanted to take you guys a little bit on the journey of the professional learning that has been offered. So this summer there was 2 different sessions. The first session was in person. A trainer came in. That was before July. I was unable to attend because I was not technically fully on staff yet at that point. But the person came in, walked the teachers through sort of the online portal a little bit more heavily-handedly. And also teachers were able to take some of the materials home with them that day if they came to that training. There was another training in July that was offered, which was supposed to be sort of a copy and paste of the earlier training for teachers who didn't make it there but wanted to come before the beginning of the school year. That one, unfortunately, there was some miscommunication and they accidentally sent the person out the day before the training. And so we pivoted really quickly. And instead we ended up having a person come via Zoom for the professional learning for the teachers for that second opportunity. Same thing, walked them through the platform and did that. In addition to that, because of sort of that snafu, Imagine Learning is going to be sending some people out in person for another training that we had scheduled virtually. So we might have there's some upside to that as well. We will be getting that still in-person training that's still up and coming, which I'll talk about that in a minute. Our first day, we knew that the summer learning was optional, right? You can't, some teachers were able to partake in it, others could not. And so we knew that we needed to do something the first day. And so I developed, in collaboration with the principals, a professional learning opportunity. And this is something that you're going to hear me say quite a bit, actually, my guess is. But we walked the teachers through that first unit and then gave them time to sort of digest using a backward design concept, right? So looking at what is the overall unit about, what does the post-assessment look like, and then breaking it down. So whenever we do that process, I call it conceptualizing the unit. And so that is a term, like when I'm talking about it, that's what I'm talking about, is talking about big picture, but then walking it all the way back to like, what does that look as you make a decision in your lesson and the activities that you're doing within it. So they were able to engage in that on that first day that they came back and have some collaboration over what they were gonna start moving with within the next week or two. In September, after they were able to do some digesting and starting to get into it, we also then offered a full grade level day for each one of our grade levels. So kindergarten came for a day, and we had a training person on site from Imagine Learning and walked them through really what is problem-based learning and how does that sort of shift the idea and the complexity to the students. But as a teacher, how do you come along then and clean up that learning so students don't leave with misconceptions, right? Like we don't want them to be too frustrated, but we do want them to go through that collaborative process and learn how to work through things that are difficult and collaborate with one another in order to put it together. But as a teacher, you still are cleaning up that learning at the end of the day because we don't want kids walking away with misconceptions. And so that was really great. The afternoon, the trainer was fantastic. We actually did a conceptualization using the same sort of process that we used on day one for the next unit that they had coming up. Ongoing, we have coaches that are continuously going in. They are working next to teachers. They are learning this curriculum themselves. And so it really is that opportunity to go in as equals and observe one another teaching. So sometimes the coaches are going in and teaching, the teachers are watching, and then they're talking about what went well, what didn't, and where they're going from there. Sometimes it's the other way around. And so it's that ongoing professional development that we have a lot of teams that are engaging in that right now. So that's really awesome and helpful. The other thing that we are doing is ongoing is at 8:05 to 8:35, we are having what we're calling the conceptualization meetings. One of the things that we really wanted to do is keep the district for elementary schools. How do you keep on pace when you don't have those collaboration opportunities across the board? And so what we've started doing is using a Google Meet to jump on and talk through that unit. What is our final outcome? What are the key vocabulary terms? What are the things that you guys are seeing or questioning here, right? And so that's the opportunity that teams have to not only talk with one another, but I sort of am in the background too, throwing out some questions and also hearing some of the main things that are popping amongst the curriculum, and so that we can make some really good decisions as we're moving forward as to where more professional development needs to lie or what other communication needs to go out in order to provide more clarity as we're all learning together. The other opportunities that we have still coming up is the Keep Learning Conference. We're going to have, once again, that's where Imagine Learning is coming back in. Part of this curriculum includes centers, which are very instrumental in the kindergarten classroom. First and second grade also have them deeply embedded. The third, fourth, and fifth have it. They also have centers. A lot of it deals with like math facts and some of those other components that they might want to use and learn. And so what we're doing is offering 3 different sessions, one for the kindergarten teachers, one for the first, second grade teachers, one through the third through fifth. They also will be doing a question and answer session so that they can hear right from the company and sort of the person who's in charge to get any other questions that they might have, sort of a free flow of opportunity. Keep is occurring on Monday, so it's coming up here quickly. We're really excited about that. We also have the Math Curricular Committee. We were talking in the education meeting a little bit about this, is that there has been some reformatting of the committee. We were talking about the intentionality in which we've built the committee. So now there are 4 representatives from each building. There are 2 representatives from each grade level. There's representatives from MTSS and from special ed. that are all on there, and our coaches will be on there. So now we've got that diversity of voices and then the equity of voices within that group, because we need to tackle some of the things like reporting out of standards, looking at a common post assessment at the end of the year to start to figure out what that looks like, so that we all have students with a similar experience across the board. So we're going to be writing some sort of script for that in order to make sure that we have that common experience for them, and we can start to gather data to track how we're doing year after year. And then we're also going to be talking a little bit about how IAR exemplars and this curriculum sort of fit together and where we can merge. So that's going to be the work of that committee this year. And then there are also reflection structures that we've put in place, which is notes to your future self. So after the team finishes a unit, they can go on there and lesson by lesson sort of add in any comments that they have. Those will be auto-sent to teams next year before they enter the unit, so they can remember what lessons went well, which ones were a struggle, what built, what didn't. The first time you're walking through it, you can't see the full picture, right? And that's part of an implementation year. And so this is our goal, to help that communication and help them sort of remember, where were we at here and what are the things that I needed to remember as we moved along. And so we integrated that strategy in as well. One of the other components that's really powerful, I think, that Imagine IM resources give us is this family hub. You guys have access, I believe, to these slides, and if you click on that Imagine IM Family Support Hub, it will take you directly to there. But what I did want to do is show that if you scroll down on that page and start to go in, right, there are some wormholes. You can start to go down to find more and more information. And so you can pick the grade that your student's in, and then you start to go into each one of the units. Each unit gives you some more information, some guidance on some of the core things that they're going to be learning during that unit. There's a video as well if you prefer not to read it. You'd rather engage that way. That's an option for you as well. The other thing is some of those core principles that I was talking about that the curriculum is built around. There is a lot of communication of like, what is a math community? What is problem-based instruction? If you are having some more questions with some of those, the core tenets that we're seeing happen in here, that would be a great place to go and start to do some research. And if you have some more questions, they have a lot of really great answers there for you. When we do professional learning, I have been asking for feedback from teachers, and so I wanted to give you some of the good and some of the bad, right? And so as we are doing this, it was a very large investment that you guys, that the district has made to bring this in. And so we have talked a lot about the ask that I have for teachers is to use this resource with integrity. We've talked about integrity versus fidelity because we are in a human resource sort of environment, and kids are different. There's no way that I could tell you on day 10 you should be on page 10. And there's never that is what I've continuously communicated, is that we need to be doing this with integrity, which means our primary resources are coming from the thing that we invested in. We're going to give this and make sure that we're finding and looking to the depth of it. We've found some really great things that we didn't necessarily fully know because we're still just pulling back some layers. A lot of our 4th and 5th grade teachers are using things that are called adaptation packs, which tell them exactly if a kid's struggling here are some lessons already designed for you to go ahead and put in. Our 4th and 5th grade students are struggling a little bit more because they haven't been in this platform, whereas our early elementary kids are learning the routines and the structures and are moving along at a different pace, which is expected, right? One of the other components is that I think it's important that we talk also about iReady. I think that parents are going to see we have Imagine IM math, and then we have iReady, and they're both math, and they're coming home, and I don't know why or how. And so I really do like this idea that it's a graphic of they are two separate things, right? And they're actually serving two very different purposes for our students. Our Imagine IM Math is our core curriculum, which means that is what the classroom teacher is going to use in their primary math instructional block and that period. That's going to be what the class engages in. iReady is sort of a twofold system. We engage in the benchmarking, which is the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year, to be able to gather some data to help us inform some of the things that we do within our instruction. It can help us identify small group work or with our tiers of support who might need some extra support. It gives us some nationally normed data as well, which is really important for us to just understand as a system where we are and what's happening. iReady then also develops what's called the personalized pathway, or you'll see it on your kids' computers as the My Path. What that does is it doesn't connect with Imagine IM. What that does is says, here is where your student has gaps within their mathematical knowledge, and here are some lessons that may help fill some of those gaps that may or may not be related to what is happening directly in Imagine, but it will make them stronger in math overall. Right? And so it does serve another purpose in order to really work to strengthen where our student is at. Some students are already at grade level, and this is another opportunity for them to then get lessons that are actually accelerated above their grade level as well. And so that is another opportunity for that to create some personalization in some of the materials that they have. And so I wanted to make sure that we understood like both of them have a very serious and significant place, but they do stand as a little bit of a different role within the mathematical curriculum altogether. So, do you guys have any questions?
No, I'm glad that you were able to look through this. This is a lot of the stuff we've been asking for, right? Like the resources that we're hoping that parents will get access to. So, I mean, we are on the right track. I love that so much. So, yeah. Right?
Yeah, this is what we've been looking for.
Absolutely.
For years.
Yeah. So,
I appreciate the feedback, the positive and the negative, because it's an easy place to just shove all the negatives or the positives in and leave out all the negatives. My son's a fourth grader at Stewart, and the first month was a huge struggle for him. It was a big change in what he was used to. I mean, changing classes between the beginning of the day and the end of the day. But after some time working with Miss Bovey, like he's come around significantly, and he's excited and having fun with it as well. So it has been a struggle up front. But it is working itself out. He's getting way better. I mean, even when he's doing iReady at home, it's going faster. So I'm seeing that the pain of kind of the initial implementation, teachers figuring it out, obviously the students figuring it out, being used to kind of one way of working for 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden completely different. So it's been really cool to watch firsthand within my own house. Some days not so much, but better now.
No, I'm hearing students comment for the first time they're starting to understand math. And really understand it, not just parrot something. So, this is this is what we've been looking for years.
I would piggyback on this. I have a third grader, and same kind of discussion that Ryan and Bob were saying. But I'll add that during parent-teacher conferences, I hope it's okay that I'm saying this, the teachers we met with, they were like, we're so glad we have this. It did have a learning curve. It was a little bit much to take on at first, but it is night and day from where it was, and the results speak for themselves, right? So, and that was from teachers, so not just my kid.
This is huge for teachers. Like, it's a huge shift for them too, and they are walking through this with so much grace and like that mentality of like, we're just going to figure out the next step to make it work, and let's come and have really clear conversations that are solution orientated. And it has been fantastic having those like regular touch points with them, because they've already got 3 ideas and they're willing to share it with the other teams. And I think that that's helping the process. Is it's not an idea that then stays at McDowell. It can move to Stewart and Shields and wherever when we are in those collaborative meetings, and we're starting to see that is really helpful. And these teachers are just, I can't say
The
enough
teachers are
great
telling
things.
me they can focus their time on getting ready, preparing, with resources in hand, as opposed to having to hunt down supporting resources.
Or create them themselves,
Or-
right, in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Teachers pay let's just go through. Thank you.
So if we could replicate this.
I got to walk into this, so I just heard the curriculum budget, so thanks.
But it's how you apply it.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think that we've got some really great teachers who want to do really great things with our kids, and we need to equip them with the right tools and give them that, and they're going to change the world. They already do, but we can make their life a little bit easier and bring back some of that joy of it. And so I think that it's just continuing to do those things for them.
Yeah, yeah,
And really, it's the kids that at the end of the day, it's just so exciting to see.
agreed.
So,
Thank you, Ms. Macklin.
Thank you so much.
thanks.
All right, there's no action required for the math curriculum K through 5 update. The fifth item of new business is a presentation of Kaneland High School state report card data. Dr. Rowling, if you could provide more information, please.
Sure. Well, originally, Dr. Horn was going to do this, but he threw out his back. Pretty sure he told me he was saving a bunch of drowning puppies. Or something along those lines. So we wish him a speedy recovery. Thanks. So I will be going through our school report cards for this year. So as a reminder, each school is given a rating by the state of Illinois based on a score. Those scores are made up of these different factors at the elementary and middle schools. So our K-8 schools, we have ELA and math proficiency. That's the number of students meeting state standard. We have ELA and math growth, which is actually the largest of all of them. That is a very complicated mathematical equation that the state of Illinois uses to measure growth. Thing we need to remember there is 50 will always be the state average. All right, so as we go through the numbers, 50 is always the state average. Science proficiency, English learner project progress to proficiency, which is not something we talk a lot about here because we do have a relatively small multi-language learner population. And then chronic absenteeism. At the high school level, similar, we have ELA and math proficiency. That is a transition on this report card from the SAT to the ACT. Graduation rate, which is the largest category in that equation. 9th grade on track. Again, English learner project progress to proficiency. That's a really hard one to say. Chronic absenteeism, and then post-secondary readiness. So as we go through when we look at grades 3 through 8, approximately 16% of the rating goes on to proficiency. And for us, 53% of the rating goes on IAR growth. That's because we don't have that ELPTP. All right, so that is then spread out amongst the other ones. As we look at this, really hard, it's really small. So each one, if you go on the Illinois State Report Card, each school has this image. And what's nice about this image is I'm going to actually need to use my cheat sheet here to see the numbers. My eyes are getting old. It breaks down each one of those factors and provides the actual scale score that's used to give the overall index score. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if you go onto the website, it's actually fairly interactive. You can see they call it the house, and you can then also drill down by different student groups and drill into some of the different pieces of data. So if you're bored, I spent a lot of time on the Illinois State Report Card. I actually do. It's I nerd out on it. So
my one question, so in the ELA proficiency, it's 8.04 out of 8.04. Is that the max you can get? What
no,
is
that is the
slash
percentage versus the number of points. So on the right, that is the percent that is leading into your score. So 8.04 is what percent weight ELA proficiency has on that. And again, that's in the raw equation, it should be 8, but because we don't have that, see there's a missing box there.
Yes.
That's our ELPTP.
Okay.
And so that is then, reallocated throughout the rest of the house. The 8.04 is the actual raw score that we got.
Okay.
And so when you look at, we have John Stewart got an 85.81. That's an exemplary score. All of our schools, we'll go through the high-level district numbers related to these factors in a moment. Blackberry Creek got an 88.86, and so they are also an exemplary school. That means that their scale score is in the top 10% in the state of Illinois. Moving on to John Shields, scoring an 89.22, also an exemplary school. McDowell Elementary earned a 68.87. They are commendable. I want to remind everyone that last year, McDowell Elementary was a targeted school. So they've turned that around, and they have a really comprehensive school improvement plan. And Mr. White is leading that team through that process at a pretty rigorous pace. So we expect big things out of them. Harder Middle School, we got a 79.24. I'm not exactly sure what the cut for exemplary was, but that's pretty close. And what we saw as a general rule in our K-8 schools is not only did we improve proficiency, which we'll talk about, but also the growth, which comprises 50%, our growth was significant. For example, Shields, they had a math growth, the ELA growth of 69. That is a huge number. Stewart had a math growth, I want to say it's 63. When you think about the state average being 50, that's a significantly higher number. So that was really a game changer for our schools. Moving on, did you guys have any questions about those? Feel free to jump in anytime.
Just that I agree with you that those are significant changes, and that's good to see, because we've seen much uglier numbers before. Yeah.
I did this presentation last year, so. I had to tell everyone we had a targeted school. That was, I think it was like my third board meeting. It was so the next slide has the high school scoring. 50% of that is a graduation rate. That's a significant number. The proficiency for ELA and math are 7.5% each. Again, that ELPTP, which does not count in our scoring. You have to have at least 20 students scoring for it to count.
Gotcha.
Chronic absenteeism at 10%, ninth grade out of track at 8.33%. The climate survey, but it only counts the student response rate. It does not count the actual.
That's interesting.
So that's simply based on how many kids filled out the survey. And then science proficiency at 5%. And as you look at our high school scored an 84.3. They are commendable. The high school scoring is really tight. And so it's really hard to get into that exemplary. You have to have, you got to score almost 100% in a couple of those categories. So we're really proud of the work they did, being a very safely commendable school. So as we move on, a couple of things that we need to point out as it relates to the scores. So with the IAR, ISB did make significant changes to those proficiency benchmarks. They did not change the test, and they did not change the way the test is scored. What they changed was the number at which you are considered proficient. And that went back to a decision that ISB made years ago when they brought the SAT in. So when they brought the SAT on, it was probably about a decade ago, they set a mark for proficiency that was higher than what SAT recommended for college and career readiness. So we said, here's the mark that the multi-billion-dollar testing company made that they give to millions of kids a year. We're going to go here instead. And then they took those scores and basically matriculated them all the way down. So one of the things that we were in Illinois that we were struggling with was we weren't comparing apples to apples when you looked at Illinois versus other states. All right, we were. Our standard has consistently been in the top 5, and for the last 2 years, I believe it's been in the top 2. And so when they brought the ACT on, they took the recommended college and career readiness score from ACT and then made those adjustments on the way down. All right, so they did, we'll see when we look at the numbers, the entire state jumped. But there's some important things that we'll share as we go through that. Now, the other thing they did is they went from a 5-level system for student proficiency to a 4-level. So essentially you have below proficient and approaching proficient, and then before we had this like weird nebulous 5th. Everything in categories 3, which is proficient and above, meets. All right, so they streamlined that system to help people understand a little bit better. And so when we look at, this is the district IAR aggregate. So all of our students, grades 3 through 8, who took the IAR in language arts, we have been floating somewhere in the 20s and 30s, and we've been floating right around a little bit below the state average. State average last year was 41%. Kaneland aggregate was 39%. This year, the state average was 53%, and the Kaneland aggregate was 63%. So we moved up with the state, but we also jumped the state. So I know that's a question I've had a number of people ask me. Did you actually improve? Because we're reading all these articles about how we changed the scoring, right? We actually improved. And I think it's demonstrated in those numbers. When we move on to math, similar with a slightly less variance, we've been floating right around the state average, which was in the high 20s. Last year, the state was at 28% and we were at 26%. This year, state math was at 39%, so improving 11 points. We went to 44. So again, leapfrogging the state average. And that's before we brought in IM math. Now I'm going to say there is, when you do an implementation, there is always a chance of an implementation dip. But we're very confident in our teachers, very confident in our team, very confident in our kids. So we hope to see big things coming out of math. Questions on those scores? I know if you followed us on social media, you've probably seen this a few times. If you hang out with me, you've definitely heard it a bunch of times. So changes to the high school. Illinois did go from the SAT to the ACT in the spring of '25. So comparing those proficiencies gets a little fuzzier because you do have different testing patterns, right? The proficient score for an ACT is 18. Excuse me, the proficient score for math is a 19. And the proficient score for science is also a 19. These benchmarks align with what college and career expectations are based on the ACT model. So again, looking at where we've been in relation to the state, we've been, now this is a different model because this only counts juniors, right? And so where you have in 3-8, every year you matriculate one group out and bring a new group in, but you still have a good chunk of kids that are taking that test year over year. Here it's one group. And if you've ever worked in schools, you know sometimes you have a group that lights it on fire and sometimes you have a group that
Does not.
needs a better lighter. So this is really hard data to look at over time and really develop trends out of. One of the things that we're going to be able to do moving forward is looking not just at the junior score, but looking at our freshmen and sophomore that are taking the PACT, so we can track cohorts over time. And so we can say this group started high school here, and they're ending high school here, and that can help show some measured growth. Last year, the state average on the SAT for proficiency was 31%. We got 34%. This year, the state average proficiency on the ACT was 53%, and we were 59.
Is this just a straight percentage of the amount of people that hit the
You hit the
proficiency
mark or
goal?
you didn't hit the mark, yep. So 59% of our kids were 18 or over in ELA. The other 41 were
Under.
17 and under,
17.
okay?
Yep.
And that's the same for the IAR, I just don't remember the cut score because there's 5 of them and it's not as well known as the ACT. For math, again, 19 is the score here. Last year on the SAT, 26% of statewide students measured proficient. Kaneland had 30%. This year on the ACT, 39% of students hit that, that state average. In Kaneland, we were 47, so a solid 8% above the state average. Whoops, sorry, that was there. So in the interest of time, we did stick with those high-level numbers. We have been pushing out additional numbers through social media, informing our community about them. But we didn't want to have one of those meetings that starts on a Monday and ends on a Tuesday. So we kept it pretty high level. Just like we talked about with the math adoption, we do want to identify there are definitely areas for improvement. Right, and so one of the things that is, if you go and spend a little time on the Illinois State Report Card, you can find the gap analysis, achievement gaps. So you can pull up groups of students and identify how maybe, for example, if we go on to the next slide, students that are identified as low income versus students that aren't. And identify what is that gap of performance. And so we provided two here. One is, one on the left, is our low-income students. And so you can see in ELA, our achievement gap is significantly less, I think, than the state achievement gap. When we go over, I'm sorry, yes. When we look at IEPs versus non-IEPs, we are actually a little bit higher when it comes to reading. So these are areas, while we are out celebrating all the great news, we are also looking at these achievement gaps. You can see the chart on the right is math. Again, our lower income students performing, our gap is less than the state, but our IEP students, that gap is a little bit more than the state average. So these are the things that we are looking at, try to dig down and identify what are other areas for improvement.
Is there a dip in these scores because of the shift between the SAT and the ACT? That same phenomenon that happens when you change curriculum, does that also happen for?
We didn't see it as we
Okay.
saw our proficiency numbers go up.
Yeah, right.
But it could be a readiness thing. We've all aligned our preparation. We've all aligned our curriculum,
SAT.
our test questions to the SAT. We made a pretty quick flip last year.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if we might see an even greater increase once we've normalized ACT.
I think it's hard to tell.
Okay.
I know that the work that they're doing, some of our curriculum teams, we hope we'll see that.
Okay.
Familiarity with the tests is
Yeah.
always a chance, and I think, as we start to get cohort data, if we can get actionable data off of that to help, not only look at that particular cohort, but look at the system to see where we're missing the gap, that's really the hope.
Sure.
So that's I think where we would see the improvement.
Okay.
Is the changes in what we're teaching, how we're teaching, and how we're analyzing that data, more so than just,
The switch.
the switch over.
Yeah, okay.
So as we do this, we are looking for opportunities. We are doing additional this year. We're doing a 6-12 math curriculum adoption cycle, looking at the curriculum there. We've started a literacy process. That'll be a 2-year process for us to, rewrite the literacy plan, rewrite the literacy curriculum, and adopt curriculum materials there. As the board voted earlier, to increase courses of rigor at the high school. Looking at special education programming. Really, we have a great model of school improvement going on down at McDowell that we can start to replicate. We are making transitions in our MTSS processes. And then looking at how do we meet the needs of our most challenged students, right? So we're looking at potentially what's called an ALOP program for students that just school is not just working, right? We want something a little different. So we are actively looking at a variety of things. I think it's safe to say that that the team is running fast, and but we are, while we are out celebrating, I like to finish by saying this is just hopefully the beginning of what we're able to do in the years to come. Big credit, as Mr. Mankowski said earlier, big credit to our staff, our kids, our people in the buildings. We're going around to each building and going to a staff meeting and celebrating with them. But last year we asked them to do more with test prep. We asked them to tell the kids it was important. And the fire department made videos for our kids, and the police department made pump up videos for our kids, and All of those things, I think, really contributed.
Yeah.
Now I'm excited to see over the coming years how the more the meat of the problem, right? Looking at the curriculum, looking at the instruction, providing that support for our teachers and kids, how we're gonna hopefully be able to move forward and continually getting better.
Yeah, I dig it.
So, questions?
Keep doing it, keep making it better.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Good job, thanks.
All right, there is no action required for the presentation on the state report card. The sixth item of new business is the approval of policies from press, first reading. Dr. Rowland, if you please provide more information.
Oh, boy, can I. So you got a big packet of press updates. Most of them are general verbiage changes. There's really very little option here. There are two questions for the board to answer. We have pre-selected, so in both cases, first is on policy 660, which is related to curriculum and instruction. The default is no. The board could adopt to specifically require the teaching of the causes and effects of the Irish famine and the length of that unit. Our recommendation is to keep that as just part of the curriculum. The second is on policy 6210, which is about the adoption of curriculum. The default is that the board will continue to approve all instructional materials. The optional change would be to leave some of that up to the superintendent. Our recommendation is to use the default because we do want to create transparency and make sure we're involving the board in those decisions. Finally, policy 2270 is a new policy that clarifies the district responsibility for discrimination, for addressing discrimination. That's bad writing on my part. Responsibility for addressing discrimination and harassment based on race, color, and national origin. This is clarification of other policy on complaints. Any questions?
All right, I'll entertain a motion that the Board of Education approve the recommended policy changes from press on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. The policies from press are approved upon first reading. The seventh item of new business is a construction planning update. Dr. Rowland, if you please provide more information.
Absolutely. So we continue to move forward on construction planning. So a couple things since the last time I reported back to the board. The core planning teams for academics and PE athletics have continued to meet and provide feedback on their bi-weekly meetings. Playground proposals were approved today. I'm going to ask Dr. Bogan to give us an update on that.
Yeah, so as you saw on consent, playground pricing and those final layouts were approved. As you know, we've been working with Cunningham Recreation and Game Time to finalize those layouts for all 4 elementary schools. We did host an additional meeting with our core planning group to go over those. The group gave lots of good feedback. In addition to also our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Mark Payton, working very closely with all 4 of the principals. Really, as part of these projects, we really looked at what was currently in place at all of the elementaries, really trying to honor all of the work and support that PTOs at those buildings have done, also balancing that with equity. And so the layouts, as they're designed, the main play structures are going to be the same at all 4 elementaries with very minor changes, but also each elementary is able to keep some of that equipment. So with all of the changes and updates, the total cost of equipment and installation came to $726,041. Most importantly on that, we were able to take advantage of a grant through Game Time for just over $205,000. So that project is within the scope of the proposed budget. And very excitingly, the project will kick off as soon as kids leave. So we are anticipating that work will begin the first week in June with completion well before the start of school. So.
Very cool.
All right. We've also held a number of user group meetings, so user groups are kind of that end user. We've met with classroom teachers, student services staff, library staff, front office and security staff, career tech ed teachers, and we continue to get feedback on their needs and the initial plans. We also held a meeting with our furniture team. That is initial kickoff meeting to start looking at classroom furniture. Focus really primarily right now on what I would call a general classroom setting, not the specialized settings like science and art. So administration and architects will be doing the following in the near future. We'll be meeting with the following user groups: special ed teachers, MTSS staff, and PE and coaches. That's actually this Wednesday. A variety of meetings set up for this Wednesday. And we'll continue to meet with the core planning teams. I do want to provide an update on the scope of construction for 2026. We mentioned already playgrounds, so 4 playgrounds. We will be doing carpet replacement at Blackberry and McDowell. We will be breaking ground on our transportation and our maintenance buildings. And initially at the high school, we had planned for classroom refreshes in the A wing because it was kind of some low-hanging fruit. After working with our construction teams, we are able to do a lot more than we expected.
That's great.
And so summer of '26, we anticipate, we're still finalizing it, so everybody hear me say the word anticipate, right?
Yes.
Okay, I like to leave that open just in case. Not only will we be doing refreshes in the A wing, we'll be doing the B wing and part of the C wing, totaling an estimated 35 classrooms. So that'll be a huge change. All of those are really what I would say general classrooms. We are not doing any science labs this summer, as that requires a different level of planning. And then finally, we will be doing some refreshes in those associated corridors, and we'll be doing a number of restrooms. So what we thought was going to be maybe a little bit of a slower summer, it doesn't turn out we're going to do that. So when students arrive in the school next year, it will look very different in many places. Any questions on any of that?
Exciting.
Huge shout out to Dr. Bogan and Mr. Payton. They go to a lot more meetings than I do, and deal with a lot more from our construction and architect team. So they've done a great job of keeping things on track, asking a lot of questions, and the high school administration has really helped take the lead on those user groups, making sure we got the right people in the room, and making sure that their voices are heard so that we can give them the best experience possible.
Yeah. Good job.
All right, go Knights.
Right.
Sounds good.
Go Knights.
There's no action necessary tonight for the construction planning update. It is now time for superintendent and board report. Dr. Rowling, do you have anything to share?
Oh, got a whole page here. All good things. So congratulations to our cross-country team for qualifying for the state tournament as a team for the second year in a row. They ran November 8th. It was a great event, as usual. Sophomore Carson Kaiser placed third with a time of 14:12. That's 3 miles. So that's really fast. It's impressive. It's really impressive to watch these kids run. So we're really excited for him. He actually just recently placed 7th at a Midwest regional race. So he continues to run. I would take a break after that one.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the football team that defeated Lakes Community High School to advance the second round of the playoffs, where they lost a heartbreaker to Belvedere North. Lost by 5. It was a tough one. They finished the season with a record of 8-3. We're very proud of them. Kaneland High School para Carrie Campbell has been nominated for an ESP award through IEA. Ms. Campbell has been working with Kaneland students for about 12 years as a valued member of the Kaneland High School team. Also excited to share that our Kaneland High School counselor, Miss Ann Kuntz, won an award. She won Supervisor of the Year from the Illinois Counselor Association. Our partners at NIU nominated her for her work last year as an internship supervisor. So Kaneland getting more and more recognition. Always excited to share those things. And here's a pretty in-depth one coming up here. Our choir update. ILMEA is a process, a rigorous audition process. Our students did a great job. District 9 is a very competitive district, and that's the one we're in. We're proud of each student that auditioned, and happy so many students had the opportunity to compete in the ILMEA District 9 Music Festival concerts at Dundee Crown. We had we competed against some really huge schools in this, and I'm going to get this wrong, but we had, I think we were second or third in the district for most students that qualified. Unbelievable. So, following students were selected to perform in ILMEA District 9 band: Soham Kadam, Lily Winnemar, Tyler Wood. The following students were selected in the senior treble choir: Rocklyn Sabanthny and Hope Zeb. The following students were selected to perform in the senior choir: Idris Ali, Jack Bicker, Ashley Davenport, Jacob Duncan, Lily Garcia, Kaylee Kunzman, Emma Kunzman, Allison Runestad, Hannah Seacrest, Mackenzie Sidman, Mateo Stewart, April Tekwaddle, Mia Tekwaddle, John Thill, and Emma Ziemba. Senior Kaylee Kunzman was the top scoring soprano in the district. Based on that honor, she and the other top scoring singers will be submitting a recording of themselves singing the national anthem. And that they will be judged, and they will audition to sing for various IHSA championship competitions in the future. 10 Kaneland High School, this keeps going, I love this, right? You talk to Mr. Kunzman, like he lights up, it's awesome. 10 Kaneland High School students were selected to sing in the American Choral Director Association Honors Choir at the Midwest Conference in February in Milwaukee. Again, really, I would like to say we punch up, right, here in Kaneland, so outscoring a lot of bigger schools. So the following students will represent Kaneland High School in the TTBB Honors Choir, which is the male choir: Idris Ali, Jacob Duncan, Jack Bicker, and Mateo Stewart. And the following students will represent Kaneland High School in the SSAA Honors Choir. This is the female version: Ashley Davenport, Gia Diaz, Lily Garcia, Emma Kunzman, Kaylee Kunzman, and Addison Runestad. So that is our update on Nights in the News. Also, our staff will be participating in a learning opportunity called the Keep Learning Conference at Kaneland High School next Monday, where they can select from dozens. What's that?
Should invite them.
If you guys are available, come by. All Monday from 8 to 3.
We'll send out an invite.
Yeah, I'll send you the invite, send you the information. Please come walk around. The teaching and learning and special ed team, and actually everybody in administration has put in a lot of time to provide teachers with dozens of professional learning options aimed at their needs. So we are really excited for our community of learners to come together and continue to get better. And that's all I have for today. Go Knights.
Thank you. Dr. Bogan?
I just have a very short one. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, the Madrigal Dinner is happening the weekend of December 12th. I already bought mine for my family, but it's a wonderful event, and you can purchase tickets by going online to the Kaneland website and to your Infinite Campus account. That's it.
Ms. Roll?
It's like, were you going to talk about that one?
Good evening. I hope everyone is coming off a great weekend. The student body's kind of just been like in a transition period. Like we've been shifting from fall sports to winter sports. So the boys and girls basketball team. That's my phone.
That's your fault.
I'll just talk over it. It's okay. The boys and girls basketball team completed tryouts the past 2 weeks, and the girls will face, we'll face Moline tonight, actually at Burlington for a tournament for their first game of the season, and then the boys will play next Monday against Sandwich at Sandwich. Boys and girls wrestling and bowling both started, so the boys bowling team actually has a home match tomorrow at Mardi Gras Lanes. I think it's in Sycamore, I believe. And then other things are just student council met and decided that this week we would have like a little Thanksgiving theme, so tomorrow's Twin Day. And then just students won't have school from November 22nd to November 30th because of Thanksgiving break. And then band and choir will also have their the Magicals will have their dinner, but they also have their combined annual band and choir concert this Wednesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. And then just happy Thanksgiving to everyone and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roll. Board members?
Just wanted to give a huge shout out for parent-teacher conferences last week. They were awesome. I'm so grateful for our staff for sticking around, and just all great positive things all around. So thank you.
I had a health insurance committee update. So we met last week. We've recently did a formulary change, and because of those changes, we're navigating some pharmaceutical challenges. So we asked Prime Therapeutics to come to join our meeting. They were able to share various ways for discount opportunities, where to find information on Blue Access and my Prime websites. The team is definitely, the committee is still looking for other ways to communicate all that information, all the great things that we learned. Biggest things that I want staff to know is if you have the insurance, reminder that the links for Blue Access and My Prime are on the Kaneland staff website. Just gonna keep promoting that Kaneland website every chance I get. So go to that staff tab. Contact Barb if you have any concerns for your co-pays or anything about any questions, and pay attention to Barb's Wellness Wednesday emails.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Any other board members? All right, topics for future agendas.
So I don't know if this is a topic, but I know we discussed through the Friday update the exploratory teachers and like how that's all shuffling out. Is there a plan to do another update on that, or do we need to have a conversation about it?
No, I think we can provide an update once those
Okay.
are put into practice.
Okay,
And provide updates on how that's going.
perfect.
Yeah, I have a topic for future agenda for a critical review and possible outlooks and opportunities we could take for ACT prep at Kaneland High School. I don't know what is happening at the high school now, but looking into bringing test prep companies into the high school. The ACT score is as silly as the little test it is. Those scores, each point is thousands of dollars of scholarship money. It is career opportunities, college opportunities that kids might not otherwise get. And those test preps, a lot of our students are phenomenally intelligent, but if you don't know how to take the test, you're not going to get as good grades. So a lot of it is just learning about the test, not necessarily the material. So as many resources and people at the school to teach the kids about how to take the tests so we can get everyone to do better. So
That's a
Yeah,
great idea.
we- Yep, we can put something together for that.
We do offer test prep though through the school already, correct?
I would have to double check
Well,
that.
actually, let me rephrase it. I paid for my daughter to go.
I'm not sure we did it.
Test. I don't know if she actually did it. No. So I know that it is offered through the
Okay.
school for the juniors to do ACT prep all the way up until like the week that the actual day after the ACT was taken. But I'm not sure if you're talking about additional resources on top of that.
Yeah, anything, and yeah, bringing in companies and
Yeah,
stuff
'cause it was
like
just, yeah, there was, I think they had a couple of different people that came in and taught, obviously,
Mhm.
not so much the actual subject itself, but how
Yeah.
do you take the test for like science, or how do you
Yeah.
manage reading or math or.
Testing
or-
strategies,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
It was a lot more strategic, but they had different teachers talking about like kind of their area of expertise, so that was pretty cool. But-
I can give you an update as to what we have
Yeah.
and what else might be available.
Okay, perfect.
And kind of to that point, because you just said you paid for it, is there opportunities for the kids that possibly can't
Sure.
afford that? So
Do we need
some
that
free
more?
resources.
Can get you that information.
Thank you.
Any other future agenda? Okay, public comment? None. Seeing none, we will proceed on. The Board of Education is scheduled for a closed session to discuss Illinois Open Meetings Act, Section 2, Sub C, Sub 11, where there will be no action taken following the session. Therefore, after the vote to go into closed session, the recording of tonight's meeting will be concluded. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss Illinois Open Meetings Act, Section 2, Sub C, Sub 11, at 8:35 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Dr. DeLawler?
Aye.
Mr. Mankowski?
Aye. And we will go into closed session at